I don't care whether Lee Zeldin loves me or not. I will be the next governor of the state of New York, and I'm not worried about how Lee Zeldin feels about me.
So, Governor, we have just 20 minutes, I'm told. So I'm going to try to ask just under 20 questions. So shorter answers will be helpful in terms of covering more ground, if possible.
Sure.
I want to give you time to say what you want to say, but I want to cover at least a few subjects. So, good day. It's so nice to be here with you in Buffalo.
Thank you.
So we asked you to choose a location of meaning to you, of significance. Why did you choose this diner?
Well, first of all, I love diners. Secondly, this is in the neighborhood where my parents started their married life. The trailer park just around the corner there. My dad used to play Gaelic football in the fields here. My children played baseball in the ballpark behind us. And there's an ice cream stand right here. So this is really the epicenter of where I began. And I never forget the people that are still here. And they have not forgotten me either. So it's really, I love coming back.
They haven't forgotten you, and some of them take pride in the fact that you came from there. And there's not everyone is necessarily voting for you there, but we did visit yesterday, and people know that that's where your parents lived. It's
Right.
well known in the area. Governor, let me ask you, why did you choose to only debate once in New York?
I was just keeping with historic precedent. I mean, every race for the last 40 years for an incumbent governor, they've had one debate. In fact, there was actually 1 year, I think it was Governor Pataki, didn't do any. So that's in keeping what we've always done here in New York.
Okay, do you think it was in the best interest of voters to debate only once?
I hope they watched it, because I don't know what else new would come out in a different debate. I think the contrast was so clear between myself and Lee Zeldin, he couldn't have changed his answers. I mean, we know who he is, and that was very crystal clear in that first debate. So that record is out there now.
You said during the debate that Lee Zeldin is trying to scare voters. Does that mean that you think he's exaggerating the crime problem?
I think he is trying to scare voters and not offer a legitimate plan. You cannot say you're tough on crime and be soft on guns. It is absolutely inconsistent. And if you ask him, he does not support keeping 18-year-olds from buying assault weapons. He doesn't support the red flag laws. He doesn't support our background checks. So it's absurd to think that you can fight crime without doing what we're doing, which is getting guns off the streets.
And you often pivot to that point, but just wondering, when you say that he's trying to scare voters, are you saying that he's creating a worse impression of crime than what actually exists
No, what
in
I'm
reality?
saying is he does not have a serious crime plan.
Okay. Is there more to do on bail reform?
I took strong steps to change what had been in place for a number of years, and I put back under the bail laws hate crimes, violent gun crimes, repeat offenders. I gave more discretion to judges, more power to district attorneys. It's been in place a few months. I want it to work, but I'm absolutely willing to look at it all over again into the next session if we find out that there's areas still of weakness. But again, there's a nationwide crime problem, nationwide, and to blame it on one aspect, which we've been working on, when there's a lot of other factors at play, is really just disingenuous.
On the subject of nonviolent crime, not that long ago in New York, in our city, crime was down, incarceration was down, stop and frisk was down. How is it okay that we're now seeing people who commit a dozen burglaries face zero consequences?
That's not okay. That's not okay. That's why I need the system to work with the laws we put in place. We changed the laws. That's why I stepped up and had to go against a lot of forces and people who didn't agree with me. But I said, I'm holding up the budget until I get these changes. So repeat offenders need to be held.
Even in nonviolent crimes?
They need to be held when there's repeat offenders.
Okay. Staying on the subject of crime, this is something you and I have discussed several times, the fact that it is still a challenge to get mentally ill people the treatment that they need. I know it's an issue that you care about. It's something that you have made several announcements about. One of the issues is that when someone is identified as, emotionally disturbed, they're often brought to the hospital and then released the very same day. Can you tell us one change that you've made that you feel has made a difference in this area, specifically with regard to keeping people in treatment long enough to actually get stable and to get well?
We gave more power for there to be court-ordered, mandated treatment. That had been taken out. We put it back in the laws.
Under Kendra's law?
Expanding Kendra's law and giving, for court-ordered treatment. And I know what happens is we need people to actually implement this. So we're doing training. So people who encounter these individuals who could do harm to themselves or other actually understand how to handle them. We're training people, the MTA police. We've launched a program to train NYPD. All the people who encounter them in the system need to know the rights that society has to protect themselves.
And to reinterpret harm.
Yes, yes. And also, we have to have more beds. This is another area where there was a shortage of psychiatric beds because of the differential in the reimbursements. I said, well, get rid of that differential. We need more beds online, and we just brought on more beds as well. So it's a multifaceted problem, but we're tackling it from every area we can.
Briefly, Governor, what do you say to some people who think that your campaign has overplayed the abortion issue and underplayed crime and the economy?
I would say to them, I've been talking about crime since I became governor. You know, the record is clear. We made common sense changes. We had to undo the harm done by the Supreme Court just a few months ago, where they took away my right as a governor to protect our citizens from people walking to a place like this with a concealed gun, or going on the subway, or in schools. Lee Zeldin thinks that's okay. That is an enormous contrast. So the voters should know that despite what they hear, this is not a new issue for us. I was in the subways with Mayor Adams back last January talking about this very issue. And the economy, our budget has been working on it. Property tax rebates for people in their pockets, suspending
Though
the
Lee
gas tax.
Zeldin objects to the fact that your name was on those checks. What do you say about that?
He can object all he wants. I've done more to help his constituents than he did. When he voted against money from Washington for his district for infrastructure, he voted against the program that allowed us to be able to create 50,000 new jobs in upstate New York by bringing the semiconductor industry home from China and making sure that we have those jobs right here. So he has voted against his district so many times, it's appalling.
You've warned that abortion is on the ballot this November. Do you have any reason to believe that marriage equality in New York is also at risk if Lee Zeldin becomes governor?
Nothing's safe. Nothing is safe, because what has happened is he was pushing hard to get the Trump mega Republicans on his side in the primary, told them everything they wanted to hear, reinforcing his entire life's record of voting against women's right to make a decision about their own bodies. And now he's trying to convince people that nothing will happen. He said nothing happened the day after Dobbs was overturned. I said, you know why? That's because I'm still the governor and you're not. But there's tremendous power that a governor has. What, the budget process, like I did with bail? You can get a lot of things done in that process if you want to. Pro-life health commissioner.
But do you trust him on marriage equality?
I don't trust him on anything.
And the fact that he named a woman who is a member of the LGBTQ community to his lieutenant governor ticket?
I'm just saying I don't trust when he says something. And I also don't trust in Washington that there won't be federal changes, because that is what the Republicans in Congress are talking about. They're talking about not just overturning abortion and having a nationwide abortion ban, but Clarence Thomas himself is the one who brought the issue of LGBTQ rights onto the table. Lee Zeldin doesn't even support a woman's right to have contraception. That's how extreme this is.
Governor, the biggest city in your state is going broke right now, in part because of the influx of Venezuelan migrants who are seeking a better life. They've ended up in New York for, a variety of reasons. We know your views about how the Texas governor and border state governors have sent them to New York. We're familiar with that. You have been speaking to the White House and or the president regularly, so you say. And my question is, what has that produced? What have those conversations produced for New Yorkers?
They produced a real solution. First of all, I don't think the biggest city in my state is going broke. The city of New York has a $9 billion surplus, so they're just fine. But that being said, we have addressed the problem. I spoke to the president multiple times, and as a result, they're now processing people coming up from Venezuela while they're still in Venezuela, those seeking legitimate asylum, or at the border. So they're not, the number of buses has dwindled. So I'm glad that the president was able to take action in response to myself and Eric Adams asking for them to do this differently. So that's exactly what happened.
But there still has been no federal aid to the city. Can you say why that is?
They have said they'll look at it in the budget. There's pots of money for shelter, for food, and other long-term care. So we've already requested that, but it takes a little more time.
Some people think that you and the mayor could have been more vocal. We know that you've said you need federal aid, but that you could have stood up and more vocally called for help, for better coordination, for federal resources. I mean, it's been since July that the mayor first sounded the alarm, and here we are now, almost November, and not a dollar in federal funding.
No, it has to work on a budget cycle. That's how it works.
Okay.
We've asked it for the money. It takes a little bit of time to come.
Should the state also contribute to the cost of sheltering these migrants as they contribute to the cost of sheltering other homeless people?
We have worked very closely with the city to offer them what they need. We have over 100 National Guard members on site to help them, help stand up sites, the logistics, the MTA buses, the Port Authority, the legal services, social services. So we've been offering all kinds of support to the city, working closely with the mayor. And again, the number is going to start dwindling as this new...
They already have. We have a massive tent and barely...
Well, that's I think you just made the point
people.
I'm trying to make, because President Biden listened to us. He responded to our request, and now you'll see fewer people coming. So I think that's the outcome we're all looking for.
Though there are close to 20,000 of these people living in our homeless shelters, and there's a cost there. And so the state ordinarily contributes to the cost of people who are living in homeless shelter, but not these
We're continuing
to
help the city.
Okay. Is there another destination within New York State, aside from New York City, where you see as a viable place where these migrants could resettle and help fill the labor shortage?
There's certainly an opportunity after the 150 days required by the law before they can legally work. And a lot of these people don't have a connection to the state. There's more Venezuelans in Miami and other cities. So to ship them other places after they've been shipped here, let's make sure that they're stabilized. And I know that there's so many employers who are saying, we can't wait to be able to hire them. We cannot wait, but we want to do it legally. And
Zeldin told me that he doesn't believe, Lee Zeldin told me that he doesn't believe that we should give these people the right to work in any sort of expedited way, that we should be worrying about New Yorkers first.
Well, there's so many jobs unfilled. I mean, Buffalo, New York has a 3.8% unemployment rate. I guarantee that someone can get a job right here. So I'm trying to respond to the needs of the economy and the employers who are asking me, calling me, saying, when can they work? So in 150 days after arrival, it's a legal process. It's called the asylum seeking process, and they're on that path.
I have about 3 more subjects I want to cover, and then a couple of short answer questions. So I want to talk to you about home care, which is an issue I know you are also, it's on your radar. Our state is facing the worst home care shortage in the nation because home health aides have been earning as little as 13 something an hour. I know that you tried to fix that problem by approving a $3 an hour raise, $2 of which kicked in earlier this month. But it appears that insurance companies are pocketing that money. Why are you letting them get away with that?
No, we're looking into that. Now, this is all brand new. It just came to our attention. And you're absolutely right that I'm the first governor in a decade that realized how important home care workers are. They deserve to be paid more. We're losing too many. We cannot afford to have a shortage. We have a lot of senior citizens in the state. They want to age in dignity in their home, and I want to make sure that they can. We also gave a lot of bonuses to healthcare workers to stop the attrition and try to build up the ranks, especially after the pandemic. So we've been leaning hard into building up the workforce and honoring those who are in these really tough jobs.
Yesterday we met a woman named Renee Christian who lives here in Buffalo. She's been in a wheelchair her entire life. She is aware that you tried to fix this problem and that it is on your radar. She told us that she has had to sleep in her wheelchair, struggle to feed herself within her apartment, and to sit for many hours in her own urine because people, frankly, can make a better living bagging groceries than changing bedpans. And it's very sad. And it's heartbreaking. And she said she feels like she doesn't matter, even though she knows that you worked on the solution. Right. So she wants to know how you'll fix this problem and how quickly she can expect this.
Well, I would be happy to connect you with the local Erie County Social Services Department. These are hardworking people who look out for individuals like Bridget. Is that her name, Bridget?
Renee.
Renee.
Yes.
And so, let's get her contact information. I'll be happy to make the connection so she can get the help she needs. She deserves to be treated better than that, absolutely.
It's just that they don't have enough workers to come and fill the shifts. So,
and we have incentives to get more people to go into these fields. We're giving scholarships to over 1,000 young people and pay the full ride for them to become nurses. I have a shortage everywhere. Nursing homes, home health care aides, hospitals. We put $10 billion on the table in our budget to lift up the healthcare system, and I made a commitment of having 20% more people in the healthcare workforce in the next 5 years, and we're on that path.
One more specific social services question. Homelessness is a very complex issue, as you know. You've pledged to address it, but some say that the state does not do enough to prevent homelessness. For example, in New York City, a single adult on public assistance gets just a little more than $200 a month to put towards rent. And that's an amount that's paid by the city, but it's set by the state. How much do you think a single adult?
That's hard to live on. And what we did in our budget last year is we moved ahead also just recently, increasing the minimum wage. So we get closer to a statewide $15 minimum wage. So it's about paying more people more money, helping them with this. That is my agenda for the next session is all about affordability, how we can get people to be able to afford their rent, afford to buy a house, and we have a very aggressive, bold plan that we're going to be unveiling in the next legislative session. So this is top of mind. Public safety and affordability are the two top issues that we're looking at now and into the next session.
Lee Zeldin just said recently, I think it was yesterday, but by the time this airs, it will have been a few days, but Lee Zeldin said that people are not enthusiastic about you. He said, quote, Andrew Cuomo had decades of trust in certain communities like Harlem, and that, quote, nobody loves Kathy Hochul.
Do you check the source? I don't care whether Lee Zeldin loves me or not. I will be the next governor of the state of New York, and I'm not worried about how Lee Zeldin feels about me.
Governor Murphy has personally lobbied the president to slow down or even end congestion pricing. Since you support it, what are you doing and what have you done to make sure it does happen? And if it doesn't happen, how would you replace the $15 billion that the MTA is already counting on?
It's not replaceable. That's why when Lee Zeldin comes out with his positions, you have to say, well, show us where you're going to cut. Are you going to raise taxes or are you cutting services? Because we need to have a long-term capital plan so that people can continue to get the service, the quality they deserve as our commuters. So we are on path. There's a traffic mobility review committee meeting right now. They're looking at all the factors and weighing the impacts on different communities and different industries and populations. So that's nothing has slowed it down.
Okay. What do you make of Governor Cuomo's former aide trashing your record on crime and bail when in fact it was under Andrew Cuomo that those laws were passed to begin with, that the laws were rolled back in 2019? How do you interpret that?
I think all of you in the media can call it out for what it is. That's fine. I don't need to. I'm focused on other things. But yes, I inherited a situation and I had to work to fix it.
Okay. Couple of really quick answers. You have 2 hours alone in New York City, all by yourself. What do you do?
I walk. I do it now. If it's dusk and I have time in the evening, I walk. I take the New York City ferry. I love going from down from Wall Street over. I go to Red Hook. I walk around the streets. So I blend in. I walked yesterday in Manhattan, and people come up to me on the streets and high five or want to give a hug, and I'm with you. And so I don't want to be disconnected from that. I'm such a people person. I want to be out there. So I literally walk from park to park. I go to farmers markets. I love the farmers markets. I go down to Union Square, up on the Upper East Side, Upper West Side, over in Brooklyn, Army Terminal. So I just walk and I absorb how magnificent and fascinating the city of New York is.
You have 2 hours in Suffolk County. 2 hours in Suffolk County by yourself. What do you do?
I'd love to walk along the beach. The beaches are extraordinary in Suffolk County. The little shops in some of the small towns, especially further out east. I do a little shopping. Stop in.
I love it out there as well.
Bridgehampton or East Hampton. Just walk in, grab a cup of tea, and people watch too.
2 hours alone in Buffalo.
If it's which time of year? If it's fall, there's a place called Tiff Farm. It's a former landfill, but it's a beautiful park. It's an urban park, and I walk my hikes to that area. I see a lot of deer, and I walk along the shore of Lake Erie and just hike. I just need to be outdoors and embrace just the freedom that being outdoors affords you.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right, thank
we
you.
know you're on a tight schedule and you have to go vote for yourself.
Yes, I do. Yes, I
for
do.
the first time for governor, right?
Yes, we're looking
How
forward.
is that? How does that feel?
You know, it's hard to comprehend. It's so humbling. You know, you sit in a place like this, and thousands of people grew up in this community, and I have this opportunity, which is extraordinary.
Any nervousness at all about turnout?
No.
You think it's as close as the polls suggest?
I had one up where I was up 15, and another one where I'm probably down 15. I don't care. I've had 14 elections. 14 times I've put myself before the voters. And I have a lot of faith in them, and they have faith in me as well to do the right thing.
Pleasure to be with you
All right.
this morning.
Thank you very much.
Governor.
Thank you.
Best of luck.